Check, check, check. Greetings. You guys hear me? Hopefully you do. Oh, this green screen is just looking terrible. I think there's too much light coming in. Too much light source from in front of me. But I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than to have a frontal lobotomy, as they used to say. Cheers. This is just coffee. I haven't switched to Crown Royal yet. No, I'm kidding. Eventually, I'm going to switch to ginger tea. So watch out. That's when the fun really begins. Old bathroom graffiti. That's right. Well, there was a song on, anybody was a fan of Dr. Demento, they had a song called "I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than to have a frontal lobotomy." Good tunes, good times. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Excuse me. My bad. I was busy cooking right before the show. Starting seeds for garden. Yes. Good job, Poppy. We're live on Substack, Odyssey, and on YouTube. Sorry for the echo. Let's go over to Odyssey and see what's up. Who's on Odyssey? Hey, man. You guys, there we go. All right, a couple of people on Odyssey, a couple of people on Substack, a couple of people on YouTube. So, there's kind of a God dang it. Sorry. It's kind of the background noise to the very loud beating of war drums is that the climate situation is kind of unraveling. And I think it's more important than most would like to acknowledge and or take a look at. Been drinking garlic water tea. Huh. Okay, that's good to know. I'll try it. But while the Trump administration is waging war on the entire planet, they're also waging war on the entire planet by eliminating regulations, environmental regulations, establishing glyphosate and or all these pesticides as critical to national infrastructure and stuff like that. But BLM announces plan to fell Oregon's last great forest. That's not Black Lives Matter. That's the Bureau of Land Management. $1 million board feet a year. This is from February 24th. So not a lot of time to make your voice heard if you want to make your voice heard. But they're doing this everywhere. They're, going for oil in remote places and trying to cut down the rest of the trees and trying to build all the data centers so that they can siphon all the water out of the aquifers. What's up with Black Lives Matter wanting to cut down all these trees? That's crazy. Boomer Lives Matter. That's a good one. Excuse my hacking and yakking. But they're looking at all of these resources as just that: resources, commodities, things to extract. Capitalists want to turn Earth into. How do you say that word? Gady prime? I don't know how to pronounce that. They want to extract all the resources and basically turn everything into a wasteland that they can commodify, turn into profit centers. And somehow, I guess they're planning on moving out of the solar system eventually. Right? We either have bunkers or off-world bases established that we're gonna giddy. All right. So they don't care if the world is a steaming hunk of rock, molten rock. They'll be living it up off the moon, off one of the moons of Jupiter, I guess. Meanwhile, this is from Carbon Brief. The pace of global warming has nearly doubled since 2015. True. Timothy says Trump took all salmon protections away and canceled $2 billion in funds for Columbia River enhancement. Yeah. I guess that's our future is Giddy Prime. The pace of warming has accelerated, if you haven't noticed. And I've been kind of looking at the weather app and trying not to be too frightened. I told you in February, the Los Angeles area, or, Southern California area, had several days that were close to 90. We're at 90, and I feel like we maxed out our winter heat wave allotment, but no, hold on. March is coming in with its own winter heat wave. We didn't really get much of a winter. We had a couple of rainstorms, a couple of atmospheric rivers. It really gave us a lot of rain. And since then, all we've gotten is like a heat dome. And this is bad news for whatever the rest of this year looks like, because it's March. So in February, there were several weeks of like 80s, between 80s and 90 degrees. And a lot of those days were pushing 90. And it was hot. It was just straight up hot and unenjoyable, because that kind of weather isn't really supposed to hit until like May or June, maybe even July. But here we go. Today, hold on. Let's take Pasadena area. The temperatures range from 86 to 88 until next week, when we get 92, 89, 94, 93, and 88. So we're going to get into the 90s next week. What I've noticed is that they're not really doing the cloud cover thing for the last 4 days or so. They've given up trying to control the temperature, I guess. It's supposed to be 89. It's supposed to be warmer today. I'm now right now I'm broadcasting near the beach. Like, I'm right next to the ocean, which is supposed to be cooler. It's hotter today at the beach than it is in Altadena, which is crazy. That's not supposed to be happening. We're close to 90 today, 89, and we'll just call it 90 today for where I am currently located. I know that people don't want to, like, oh, it's just the weather and that happens. And, I don't know. I don't know about that. If it's 90 degrees several times in February and March in 2026, so what is it going to be in June and July? I ask you, especially if they are not capable of containing the heat the way that they've been trying to do. What's up, Yona? How you doing? We ain't getting a Star Trek future, more like an alien corporate future. 60 plus in Chicago a few days ago, and then yesterday we got snow. Go to Palm Springs for cooler weather, says Kate. Dang. It's really annoying to me. Sorry. Having a hard time just talking without a lot of interference. Super El Nino this year, possibly blue ocean event. Yeah, I'm filled with a dread that I hate to try to externalize because I don't want to scare people too bad. What's up, Victory Gin over on Substack? Don't know who's on Odyssey, not sure. All right, here's Jeff Beardelli talking about the heat, absurd heat. Despite our best efforts, the monster heat dome is bound to be undersold by the meteorology community. Yep, they're gonna downplay the temperatures. They're gonna squash the readings. Again, I'm waiting for the cloud cover to come back. Maybe they don't do that during, maybe it's too many resources to suck up during like a wartime thing. Maybe they just gave up. Maybe they're just like, I don't care anymore. I'm not sure what's going on. Not a cloud in the sky, not a fake cloud in the sky for several days. 98 in Slab City. Jesus. No, Kevin, scare the shit out of them. Tell them about the 11 billion crabs that died and shut down the crabbing season. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Yeah, well, whether I'm scaring somebody or not, I mean, like we're, I don't know. We're in for a ride, a rocky ride. And I'm not sure how people are going to handle it. Asshole of distinction on Odyssey says, is global warming directly correlated with wars that are not officially declared as wars? Has that study been done? In 1997, Berlin had a 30°C April. I remember it well. Has not happened since. I don't know. It's a good question. Was it 1997? I mean, you would know. I don't know. I mean, I think that could be called an anomaly. That could be called an outlier. I'm talking about things that are steadily. We see steadily rising temperatures. We see steadily rising overnight lows. We see, record-breaking 100-degree days in lots of places like Arizona and others. And then there was the heat wave in Europe. Yeah, that killed a lot of people. But I would take that as more of an anomaly than anything else. Maybe a sign of the times, maybe a precursor to the future. But I'm talking about things that are happening consistently. Like if you're just looking at the last 5 years, the number of 1,000-year rain events, the huge number of like atmospheric river type conditions that we're getting in California, followed by excessive heat and dryness. Consistently hotter temperatures over time. Yes, back in the day, these would be, just big anomalies that people would go, wow, that's crazy. That's why 1,000-year floods are called 1,000-year floods. They happen once every 1,000 years. But if they happen every single year for 5 years in a row, that's not a 1,000-year flood. That's a different thing altogether. That's a trend. Not an anomaly. So there's that. And I don't think people, again, the the conversation around climate change has been obliterated, and I think that is intentional. And I think that there's been a lot of, useful. I don't want to use the word idiot, but useful mouthpieces in that endeavor. That has been a very effective propaganda campaign, which is carried over, for decades. So they've been successful in obliterating the conversation around climate change, or at least, making enough people feel skeptical about it that they don't, want to talk about it, and then demonizing any and all climate action, or anybody involved in protesting around climate change. That now it is just a very hard subject for people to take seriously, right at the moment when it is about to affect people's lives in a very real day-to-day way. Yeah, you couldn't have planned it better. Maybe they're looking for a way to actually have a controlled nuclear explosion, Chuck. Which this takes me to the next subject at hand. They were talking about having over the last couple of days, the big news has been this, FBI says that there could be an Iranian drone attack on California, which everybody immediately was like, bullshit. Rightly so, right? This looks like a psyop, smells like a psyop, quacks like a psyop. The FBI warned police departments in California in recent days that Iran could retaliate for American attacks by launching drones at the West Coast. A lot of people were like, okay, why the West Coast specifically? Seems like a long way away. Can they actually make it all the way over here? Doesn't sound very feasible. And a lot of people are saying this is just a catalyst for a false flag, right? That maybe there might be an attack that would allow us to generate the idea that we need to step up our attacks on Iran. Yes, and then there was extra bullet. This is a recycling of a warning from last year. Yep. Yeah, I would agree, Gregory. I don't know why they would go California first. Anyways, it has people on pins and needles, and maybe that's not the right phrase I'm looking for, but it has people, worried, nervous, upset, fearful. Sorry. Here's Aliyah. FBI warns Iran may attack the U.S. West Coast. ABC reports, I'm in California. In other words, Israel or Trump may be planning to launch a false flag attack to escalate tensions and blame Iran. Please take extreme caution when attending any public events or gatherings. Sending love and strength. We will get through this. Yep. This is Aaron Day. Trump is responsible for all of this. Refuse the added surveillance that comes from this. He's talking about in the same story.
They try to hit us back. Have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with his stupid open border.
Anyways, yeah. The dumb talking point about Biden and the open border. Please, if you're a Republican, can you just do a little better, and instead of just sucking this shit up like it's your favorite snack, bag of chips.
But we know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them, I think.
Is it dozens?
They came in through the open border policies of Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst president in the history of our country.
Just to correct the record, guys, Republicans love open borders just as much as Democrats, maybe more. So all of this, the immigration, thing is completely generated, concocted. It is, yes, it is an issue that is affecting people because they're acting like it's an issue, but it is not an issue that they actually care about. All of this is bullshit. All of this is just generated hypocrisy. Iran kidnapped Bibi's brother. Really? Is that true? Yeah. So, again, if there's any conservatives out there watching this, and maybe I'll clip this out. Maybe I'll try to clip this out. But, if you got to understand that the immigration issue is a false issue. It is not a real issue. It is just generated to make you angry and, have you vote for somebody who wants to eventually lock you or your kids in jail or send your kids to die in a war. So understand, it is not a real issue. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They like open borders in order to undercut the salaries of workers. And Republicans love open borders just as much as Democrats, maybe more. Just so you understand the game that's going on. Are we clear? His brother was missiled? What? Did they kill him or did they kidnap him? What happened? What? What happened to Bibi's brother? Yonatan. Oh no, he died a long time ago. This is fact check. Will you just give me the answer? There's been no reports or official confirmation. According to media reports, the viral clip showing the house on fire was uploaded online. Well, okay, so it's, unconfirmed, I guess. There you go. Here's Genghis Khan saying, let me catch you up. The U.S. government is planning to attack its own citizens using CIA Mossad assets disguised as Iranians. They are letting you know first. That's why it's either drones or sleeper cells, right? Sleeper cells. They're in the country. Do you think that maybe they might? I remember a really famous sleeper cell that was allowed into the country that did a really big false flag. And it seems, if you do enough digging, it seems like they were okay with these sleeper cells running all over the place. The biggest sleeper cell in the country, AIPAC. And they have been activated, basically. They're letting you know first. If there really were Iranian sleeper cells, they wouldn't announce it on social media. They would just take them out.
There's some reporting now of some communications that apparently have been intercepted about waking up some of these sleeper cells right here in America. So when we talk about this war is not going to be just isolated to the Persian Gulf or Iran or even some of the Middle Eastern countries that you just stated and you have on the screen here, like when we talk about Lebanon or Iraq or Jordan or Abu Dhabi or UAE, etc. I do think that we're going to see an expansion of it. They may not be as strong as they once were because, of course, their Navy's been destroyed. Now they're continuing, Israel and the United States is continuing to pound on their ballistic missile capability. But the Iranian military is a powerful military. And I'm not sure we've even touched on their conventional ground force capabilities. I mean, they have a large artillery capability. They have a very, very extensive military. And hopefully some of these people in the conventional Iranian military will turn on the government and join the protesters. But I want people to understand that these guys have had like 40 plus years to prepare for this kind of thing. And this is not a third world country at all. This is a very sophisticated country. They have clearly their problems ideologically, but.
Okay, whatever. There was a lot of blah, blah. My bad. Here is Chuck Schumer saying that as the first Jewish Senate Majority Leader, one of his key jobs is to fight as hard as possible to ensure that U.S. gives Israel all the aid it wants and needs. He, of course, has been supportive of Trump's war with Netanyahu. The Democrats are not coming to help you. They are not your friends. They are not on your side. It would be nice if there were some Democrats out there who actually, I feel like there might be a new bumper crop coming through that might be anti-AIPAC or anti, just give Israel whatever they want kind of Democrats. But I wouldn't hold my breath.
Leader is the first Jewish majority leader ever. And one is to fight for aid to Israel, all the aid that Israel needs.
Oh my God,
I will
very angry, very animated about this. Yep, extra bullet, that's right. I think these news stories, I think a lot of the purpose of these news stories is to get everybody wound up. These bad old Iranians are going to they have sleeper cells and they're going to take you out. Oh my God. Let's whip up some, God dang it. There is a wasp who likes to live in the window here. He's back. After I put him outside, I said, hey, go take a walk outside. He said, no, I'm coming back in. Switzerland, the country of neutrality, says that U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran are a violation of international law. He's definitely not a wasp, but that's true. But here is a great little piece from Caitlin Johnson. I love it. Along with the sleeper cell, bullshit, they're, have got a lot of people saying, we got to support the people, the women of Iran, and the people of Iran, they're so oppressive and suppressed there. We got to go, it is propaganda to make it okay for the Trump administration to do this. That's all that is. We don't have the moral authority over Iran. I'm sorry. And I don't care if you're an Iranian American or whatever American, you are a bumbleclot. If you believe this kind of nonsense, or if you actually support this kind of nonsense, you don't know what you're supporting. You should just take a seat somewhere. Have a seat. Just listen. The lesser resistance to the Iran war has been relatively muted and inadequate up to this point. One reason for this because a lot of pro-regime change voices inserted themselves into the pro-Palestine movement and have been promoting their view for 3 years. I used to follow a few pro-Palestine accounts on TikTok and Instagram who sounded great when they were talking about Gaza, but suddenly transform into Lindsey Graham whenever they're talking about Iran. Yep. Somehow it's a flip. Somehow there's this fine liberal line of like, yeah, no genocide in Gaza, but like, man, let's free the people from Iran, you know. The horrible, oppressive Ayatollah. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know? And this is very tactical, you know, incredibly tactical. But there's, you know, there's fault lines everywhere. There's arguing, you know, competing arguments everywhere that make it very difficult for anybody to know what the heck is going on. They turn into Lindsey Graham whenever they're talking about Iran. I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly. They dress it up in leftist-sounding language, etc., but functionally their position hasn't been much different from that of Marco Rubio. I don't have time to get into a big flame war with minor internet personalities, so I'm not going to call anyone out. Or say, that's a little bit. I like her. Her little dig there, minor internet personalities. So I'm not going to call anyone out or cite specific examples, but the long and short of it is that they wanted regime change and promoted the idea that we should center Iranian voices, i.e. the voices of warmongering Iranian diaspora. Yep. I told you about the knuckleheads here who, you know, the protest that was going on in Santa Monica. We're all super wealthy Iranian Americans. We'd like to see some regime change there because they're mean to their people. Come on, Trump, help us out. Like, really? Are you guys serious? That bullshit fake ass protest. They've been happening throughout the pro-Palestine movement, both online and off, and it puts a wobble on people's confidence when it comes to resisting Trump's latest mass atrocity. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. That's what it is. The idea that we need to defer to Iranian diaspora about the morality of this war is batshit insane. Ding, 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 ding. And does not deserve to be taken seriously. Ding, ding, ding. In other words, can it? Too many leftists have let warmongers of Iran. It's the same thing with the Maduro. Well, Maduro was a bad guy because I listened to bad. Somebody tell me he was a bad guy. No, dude. No, dude. No, dude. No. Maduro wasn't nearly as bad as Trump or even Biden. No. You don't know what you're talking about. Sure, yeah, I'm sure, you know, there were some people that weren't really down with the Ayatollah, I'm sure. But not nearly as imperialistic, bloodthirsty, and, you know, horrific to its people, his people, as that of, you know, pick the last 5 American presidents. So you don't know what you're talking about, y'all. Their wholesome leftist sensibilities get exploited by cynical manipulators. Oh, hold on. Too many leftists have let warmongers of Iranian descent bully them into silence on this front, in exactly the same way they let Western Jews bully them into silence about Palestine for decades. Their wholesome leftist sensibilities get exploited by cynical manipulators. I think plenty of people on the right actually believe this too. I don't think it's just lefties. I hear people on the right just, you know, because they just want to support anything Trump does, right? They're down to, you know, take up that platform and go like, but yeah, he was a bad guy. Maybe more insidious if it's on the left. I don't know. Because they want to be receptive to what they perceive as a marginalized group, and it leads them to espouse the same exact foreign policy positions as the CIA and the U.S. State Department. This is stupid, and it needs to stop. Your instincts. And I hear people say the same thing about Cuba. Oh, but Cuba was whatever. No. Nope. Nope. We don't have the moral authority, and neither do you. You personally don't have the moral authority to say, like, well, we should just be the world police. No, you should just deal with what's going. You should just worry about what your own government is doing to its own people and to everyone else on the planet. Like, you really want some fairness? You want some equity in the, you want compassion and people to be treated fairly in the world, but just start with your own government. Don't worry so much about we got to go in and help somebody. No, we don't. That whole talking point has to end. Your instincts about the horrific nature of this war are correct. Anyone who told you not to oppose this is an asshole. Don't let anyone shut you down and shut you up, regardless of where their family happens to come from. Shout right back at them. Tell them to shut up. You are right and they are wrong. Get out there and start resisting this thing. Exactly. Exactly. And just assume that whatever our government is telling you about what's happening in another country is a bag of fucking dog shit. Lies. Like, just assume that from the start. Put the onus of, evidence and factualness on them, right? Oh, you're telling me this thing about this other country. Well, prove it. Where's your proof? What's really happening? What's going on? You really got to be extra hyper vigilant about what they're telling you is real. There, I used that word again. Guys, if you like the show, if you want to support the show, and man, could I use your support, because takes energy, time, and all that kind of good stuff to get these things together for y'all. Planning on doing more when time and energy permits. You can support in the description box. There are lots of links, lots of ways. All the usual ways are there: Venmo, CashApp, PayPal, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi. What else? You can support a Patreon. You can support on Substack as well. Many of you all support the show on a regular basis. You know who you are. I appreciate you. U.S. will lose war if Strait of Hormuz stays closed. This is Newt. On a snoot, he went toot toot. Neville the Newt never went to sleep because he had no eyelids. Bandcamp, buy Kevin's music. That's right. Bandcamp. That's right. So Newt Gingrich giving some words of wisdom, and I think I lost something in here. I lost which I lose an article in here. Well, there's been some, I don't know if you can call them fear mongering concerning I'll take them as, fairly right on the money as far as being prescient and predictive. But there's been a lot of people saying, the Strait of Hormuz being closed and tanker traffic being down to what it is now is going to cause a lot of economic damage, to the point where I had a good post and I don't know where it went, but to the point where we are going to see, some significant shocks, economic shocks, food shocks, energy shocks, and that they may not show up right away, but down the road. So consider these things when planning your near future activities.
Look, there are three huge challenges that this administration has tackled. The first is that, and they should have frankly moved on this on day one, they have to keep the Strait of Hormuz open.
Yes.
I don't care what it costs. If they can't keep it open, this war will in fact be an American defeat before very long, because the entire world, including the American people, will react to the price of oil if the strait stays closed very long. So I lived through this with Reagan, as you did, in the late 80s, keeping.
I just wanted to say it. That's, that the oil, Newt, Captain Obvious. Yeah. But he's making some good points. He's making good points. We'll let him have it. The fluctuations in the oil price, the per barrel. Hold on, let's see if we can pull some things up here. What is it? WTI. Where's it at? 85. The fluctuations in the price of crude oil, some people have said, have been due to Europe and other, maybe even the U.S. releasing stockpiles of oil. And so that's driving the price down a little bit. But, I mean, they really need for oil to remain somewhat steady. You cannot have like really crazy energy, you can't have energy prices going too berserk, or it will really like wreck the economy. And so what has been a quiet, I don't want to use the word quiet killer, but like a quiet disruption, I think, in people's finances has been like heating, the cost of heating your house, right? Like, so I've heard from several sources, and I think it's just obvious to everybody who lives in the world and has to heat their house or pay energy prices, cool their house or light their house or do anything with energy, that it has become really expensive, and it keeps going up. And they keep building data centers, and it keeps causing the price of energy to rise, right? So that you're not seeing it at the gas pumps, but you're seeing it in your bill that comes to your house. And if that gets wild enough, and for some people it has gotten wild enough, you're not going to be able to pay that bill. They don't, it's a fine line, because if they let oil prices get out of hand for a sustained amount of time, it will absolutely destroy the economy. It will absolutely tank the economy. If it's sustained for long enough, that happened in 2008. That already happened. We already saw that happen in 2008. And that was a big reason why everything started to crumble, why the house of cards came down, was because there was a sustained rise in oil. And some people say it was engineered, and it probably was. But if they let it get out of control, they know that, that's when the unintended consequences start kicking in, because you don't know where it's going to end, right? If people start losing their ability to, pay their credit cards, pay their mortgages, pay for food, pay their bills, right? If things start cratering to the point where people just cannot pay, the failure to pay just becomes rampant. and widespread, that is going to take the economy out from the bottom. And once that starts happening, you don't know how wild that's going to get. So I think that they have an interest in keeping it somewhat stable. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is what they want. Lots of people suggesting that too, which wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that they control demolition. I don't know.
The Strait open is the number one job because it buys you time for the two other jobs. The second job is we're going to discover that the Revolutionary Guard is tougher than we thought it was, better connected, and have at least 200,000 people who are true believers, and they have no future. I mean,
right.
Trump can say unconditional surrender.
Right.
These folks know if they lose power, they have no future. And the third challenge is how do you arouse and organize the street, the 85 million or so people in Iran who do not want the current regime, but they're unarmed, they're unorganized, and that has to be solved. These three problems are going to decide whether this was a stroke of genius or, frankly, a step into quicksand. And I think that the president has to focus very hard on solving these three issues.
Okay. Thanks, Newt. I don't think Newt, it's been long known that Newt is not a fan of Trump. Here's crude oil prices right now. Where are we? Oh, let's see. Got a bunch of comments here on Odyssey. FBI warns, unconfirmed. This feels like watching 9/11 in reverse. How many dancing Israelis are in America right now? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The pedo man really cares about the women and children of Iran. I repeat, the left does not understand propaganda in today's world. They do not. There's a certain, like, I don't know, rose-colored, like, Disney fairy tale mentality of liberals, which is like, man, if you could just always look on the bright side of life. If you could just do that all the time. And so I feel like they just are willing to, like, go, well, it's probably not that bad, which is it's one way to live in the world. I get it. I get the mentality. I totally get it, because I feel like I do a lot of that myself. But if you get too rainbow unicorn about it, you I don't know. Well, how old is Newt these days? I don't know. Anyways, the left is not, like, they only understand propaganda if it comes from the right. That's the problem with the left, is like they're willing to believe anything that is labeled propaganda from the right. They're like, oh yeah, totally. But if it's propaganda that's aimed at them and actually useful, on their side, like if what they believe is actually built on propaganda, they're like, no way, because I am too smart to actually fall for that. Right? There's that, no, what are you talking about? You're stupid. You've been doing your own research, etc. All right, so crude oil is back up to what? 95. Did I say 85? Sorry about that. 95. So it took a dip. It went way up, took a dip. Now we're coming back. We're about midway in this gap. Oh, and it looks like it's probably going back up again, my friends. Probably. Do not read the comments. I am shy. Sorry. I'm trying to give Odyssey some love because I would like people to watch on Odyssey. Heating costs have gone up, but say no to cable. You're right. The left went COVID fascist, right? Exactly. And that's the thing, is propaganda is very effective if you couch it in those people don't know what they're talking, right? Like if you want somebody to believe something on the right or the left, tell them the other side believes it. And they'll be like, no way, fuck that. I'm not that stupid. Right? If you want somebody on the right to believe something, tell them it's a liberal idea. And they will eat it up, hook, line, and sinker. You want somebody on the left to believe something, tell them that, all the righties believe it. It's a fascist, it's a right-wing idea. It's a white supremacist idea. It's a whatever, however you want to paint it. They're like, no way. That's dumb. I'm not, no way. You can't, no, right? What are you going to do, huh? What's the joke? Did I read it on the show the other day? The old Russian joke about propaganda. A Russian was talking to an American on a train, and they were talking about propaganda, and the Russian acknowledged that, there was a lot of propaganda in Russia. And then the Russian said, your propaganda is pretty good too. And the American says, we don't have propaganda in America. And he says, exactly. And that's how it works. That's how it works. You make it seem like a totally, feasible, understandable idea, right? Couch it in a little bit of science or a little bit of, make it seem like, progressive, forward-minded. All the smart people think like this. Couch anything in that kind of verbiage, and people are like, oh, totally. It's totally real. What, chemtrails? They're making clouds in the sky? No, it's dumb, dude. That's only crazy people think that. Okay. All right. Sure. All right. We have hit the end of the hour, my friends. And now it is time. Kate said, I went right to Odyssey when I heard someone else was here. There you go. You are not alone. You are in good company. You have friends in high places. They watch the show on Odyssey. That's where all the cool people are at, on Odyssey, watching the show on a suppressed platform. That's where all the cool kids are at. I'm telling you, just letting you know. All right, guys. Thank you. I don't know if I'm going to do a music stream or not tomorrow. I have been, this week has been a lot of heavy lifting this week. So I didn't do a music stream on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to do a music stream tomorrow. I would love to try, but so the best way to know whether I'm going to do a music stream or not is to follow me on my Instagram at kevinsandbloom, or follow me at YouTube at kevinsandbloom. And then usually in the morning, I'll post if I'm going to do a stream. It's the best way to know. If I post, hey, I'm going to do a stream, then I'm going to do a stream. So Kameshwari Kate says, bye for now. Buy Kevin's album Still Blue over at Bandcamp. Yep. You should buy that one. I covered a whole Joni Mitchell record, the record Blue. And my version is called Still Blue. I don't know, I'm kind of proud of that record, actually. As far as production wise, I feel like it was one of my better. I produce all my own music. I feel like it's one of my better I did a good job producing that record. Anyways, thanks guys, appreciate it. Much love. We'll see you. If I don't see you tomorrow, I will see you on Monday at noon. Enjoy your weekend. And until next time, beware the bear.